Ooh, the most iconic intro in all of motorsports racing there. My name's Yodin, friends. Thanks for joining me for a brand new Let's Play, a first look at F1 22. I'm really excited to have my hands on this. If you are a fan of F1 or if you're a fan of motorsports manager games, or just management games in general, so far I've found this to be incredibly crunchy, it's in depth, it's exciting, and yeah, I'm kind of fanboying out, so I'm going to try to limit myself, but during this Let's Play, I will try to cover everything in depth that we can for the season of 2022, and moving forward until release. This is an early access copy, of course, so keep in mind anything you see may change before release. I'm on build 1.2.0, but I think there will be, of course, a day one patch, as most games have. So there, and we've got these dark smolders already in the background. All the drivers doing those really dramatic slow motion turns to the camera. Thank you, K-Mag. So we're going to start up a new career, and I'm going to talk you and walk you through what F1 22 is all about. And Crofty is going to give us an intro.
Where the 20 best drivers in the world come together to take on some of the world's most historic circuits. And that legacy continues today. The 2021 championship was thrilling from start to finish, and 2022 is set to be even better. New regulations will usher in an age of pioneering changes. New driving talent alongside returning champions will be dueling it out to the bitter end. The pressure will be on the team principals in the upcoming season as they manage their drivers, their cars, and the whole team to push to victory. This is not a challenge for the faint-hearted. This is Formula One.
You haven't had that much hype since Drive to Survive on Netflix. All right. I love the little clip of Toto throwing his headset. It's like my favorite clip in the world. So here is our preview, friends, of the different teams that we can become the team principal of. These teams are listed in order of their current rating. As you can see here, Mercedes is rated as the top team in Formula One right now. We have Red Bull, we've got Ferrari, we've got McLaren, we've got them all the way down the line. I'm also stopping this autoplay description of the team's history. Now, I could start out at the top of the table and go right into it with our good friends here at Mercedes. However, as an American, I think it's only fitting, especially since the headquarters for Haas is only 12 minutes away from where I live, I think it's only fitting that I go ahead and say, Entschuldigen Sie, Guenther Steiner, I'm taking your job. They've offered me, they're going to pay me in just basically pizza and energy drinks, and they're saving a ton of money this year. So I've become the new team principal of Haas Racing. Gene Haas is like, you know what? YOLO, let's do it. Haas is expected to basically come sixth this season, which is kind of surprising because Haas is actually rated as the lowest team on the F1 calendar, sorry, in the paddock this year. But we are expected to reach sixth place. And I think, if I remember right, in this current actual 2022 season, Haas is surprising a lot of people. So I'm kind of wondering if the start of this game season, is going to launch Haas that direction. So we're expected to finish sixth. That is what the board is expecting of me as the new principal. We also have a long-term objective of being a podium contender. So probably something like get on the podium a number of times between now and some other time. We have a low starting budget. We are one of the worst cars on the grid, the worst drivers on the grid, pretty decent staff, and the worst headquarters quality. I take a little bit of offense to that because here in Kannapolis, it looks fantastic. I don't know. I really can't say that, to be honest. I'm just trying to go to bat for my team. Our drivers, of course, Mick Schumacher, Kevin Magnussen, and our reserve driver is Pietro Fittipaldi. I didn't actually know that we had a Fittipaldi, another Dynasty member. I'm assuming he's related to, oh God, I forgot his first name. The old Fittipaldi driver who is both F1, I think, and also IndyCar. So lots of history here with Mick Schumacher as well as Pietro. And we have a little bit more information about Haas F1. They're in Kannapolis. They were joined the F1 circuit in 2016. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to go ahead and hit continue. There's a lot of content to cover, by the way. So I do apologize if I kind of like rush through this first episode. My goal is to actually get to a race in order to see what that content is like. So we are going to start up a new campaign. I will talk us through this little dashboard that we're going to have here, much like you've seen a homepage if you've played Football Manager or something like that. And my hope is that like this is going to appeal to a lot of different interest levels, right? Like if you're just someone who watches F1 on, whenever it's around on a week by week basis, and we're in the summer break right now, but you watch F1, this might be interesting for you from kind of a behind the scenes. You might have more understanding of the car mechanics and what makes a good car, but you might not have played kind of a management style game. Conversely, if you are a huge fan of these manager games, whether it's a sports game or the old motorsports manager from a few years ago, you might not know a ton about F1, and that's okay, because I believe there's a lot of presets we can use and just experimentation to figure out what's working. So here we are at home in Kannapolis headquarters and F1, the Haas F1 team. We have $15 million in the bank. It is March 7th. Let's go to the schedule real quick. And we've got a couple of race events coming up. So the testing period should be ending. This is actually something different, but I think we just finished our test here in Bahrain. We've got a couple of interesting sponsorship obligation events, which we'll probably cover here in just a bit. There's the end of preseason testing in Bahrain, and then of course we have the Bahrain Grand Prix, followed by I think Saudi Arabia, then Australia is somewhere in there, and I think actually the US is, there's Italy, and I think the US is actually Miami's after that, because the US does have an additional race in this calendar season. And next year we're also adding Las Vegas to the schedule as well, if I'm not mistaken. So exciting stuff. Welcome to the team from Audrey Mensa, our senior engineer. Hey, thanks, Audrey. I appreciate that. Here's a little overview of the different circuits. What kind of information can we glean from this? This is kind of cool. Pretty fancy circuit map showing us where all the DRS zones are. If you don't know what a lot of these terms are, I will try to explain those as we go. DRS is a drag reduction system, which is where the little back wing of our car will, I can't even see it. I can't show you the thing of the wing. If we could see the back wing, there it is right there. This little flap comes down in the drag reduction system zones, which lets us close the gap to a car in front. You have to be 1 second behind another car at the detection zone, which is right here, in order for you to be able to use the DRS during this stretch. So you want to be within a second right about here, then you'll be able to drop that little wing part down and catch some extra speed. We can also get an idea of how fast the track is. So at first glance, it looks like there's a lot of straights here. However, I think this means these are really, really slow corners. So it's almost like coming to a hard break most of the turns of the track. A little bit of medium speed corners towards the end of the circuit, but there are some pretty hardcore, sprint as far as you can, slam on the brakes, etc. That's how I do it in Formula 1 2022 anyways. Here are the important attributes of a car at this particular track. So acceleration's important because we're coming off of a lot of low speed corners. These are recommended, and this is critical or crucial for the circuit. So they really think that doing well in medium air is crucial to succeeding at Bahrain. Awesome stuff. We'll look at more of this as we go. I'm going to try to treat this episode as more of an overview and just to get you familiar with, and myself familiar with the interface. Let's talk about our facilities and then how to improve the car. So at the start of the game, again, we have $15 million in the bank. Our facility is the worst facility compared to everyone else on the grid. We have car development facilities. We've got, I don't actually think this is the headquarters of Haas, if I remember, but this is the factory, design center, wind tunnel. CFD is a liquid thing, a computational fluid dynamics. Ooh. It's used to simulate airflow over aerodynamic car parts during the design process. Cool beans. We've got suspension simulator and car part test center. So if you've played any kind of a management game where you're going to have a base that you're upgrading, it's just going to give you access to either something more efficiently or, one more of something. So in this particular case, we currently can manufacture 2 parts at any given time. The state of our factory gives us a 2% boost to car part manufacturing. If we were to upgrade it, we would then be able to run 3 parts concurrently, and we would get a 6% development increase. So that is what upgrading some of these facilities will allow you to do. Engineer capacity, I think engineers can be applied to the design of a part, so that makes it go faster. So we would get 1 more concurrent car part design if we upgrade. And the upgrade is incredibly expensive. $11 million, that's crazy. So I highly doubt we're going to be going beyond level 2 for quite some time. Wind tunnel is giving us a little bit of, these are like thousandths of a percent increase here. So as you can imagine, there's going to be not a huge, not leaps and bounds of improvements. We're working within like tenths to a hundredths of a percentile improvements over time because F1 is so close. It's literally about gaining a couple of tenths of a second per lap. So that's what we're kind of aiming for. And that's a little bit different from what we might find in a lot of other management games. So we have some staff facilities here. We have no team hub. What? We don't have a break room? If we built a break room, it would give us some attractiveness because, well, we have a break room. Everyone would be a little bit happier and we'd get a little bit more experience gain. Actually, that's a pretty good amount. I'm assuming experience is like how much your staff learns from each race week and then how much of that kind of can improve the quality of your vehicle or design or racing as you go. So I kind of think this might be important to have early on. Let's go ahead and build this. Again, 15 million. I think we can spend a little bit of money up front. Also, I am going to be experimenting a lot with this playthrough until the launch because I don't particularly know what everything does yet. We have no race simulator. Apparently, Mick and K-Mag are at their houses playing with the F1. Well, probably they're playing that other simulator that's like crazy in depth. But can we build multiple things at a time? Can I give them a simulator as well? Oh, yeah, we can. Okay, cool. So we can build multiple facilities at any given time. Then we also have some operations facilities. This looks like it's all about VIP stuff. We can get a little bit of extra money from the tour center, memorabilia, helipad for our VIPs. This is a improved amount of money we get from our sponsors from hitting targets, hospitality stuff. We're not worried about that just yet because, to be honest, we're not that attractive as a team yet. We want to, win some races, or at least not really win. We're going to try to just place and get in the points. That's really my goal, is to make it in the points scoring area. Alrighty, the board. What is the board expecting out of us? Here's the confidence level. They are, of course, medium. They're not quite sure why they picked a 30-something to run the company and replace Guenther Steiner and his decades of experience. But whatever. They're happy about the finances because they're saving money on my salary. Our objective is, of course, 6th or above. We have no actual position because the season has not started yet. Although we're of quality, we're expected to be 10th. And here's our long-term objective. Score podiums in 25% of the season's races, which is in 2024. So I think this means that within 2 years, 3 seasons, I think, because 2022, 23, and 24, we want to get on the podium 6 times. That's a lot of chances. I mean, all we might need is just a really lucky break, maybe a really bad red flag or safety car during a rain, storm or something crazy could put us into the podium positions. We also have the board budget. We are getting $57 million from the board. So we got $6.9 million at the start of the season, and then we're getting $4.6 million every month. Okay, that sounds good. Here's a team rating. We are, in fact, this is kind of cool, rating band. What is this? We are an underdog. So this is expected board and sponsors will have. So it's easier to, I think from a board perspective and in sponsorship expectation, it's easier to be an underdog. You have to deliver more as you're a leader or a revered team. Interesting stuff. Heritage. This is kind of cool. This bonus is based on the percentage of F1 seasons that the team has entered and the percentage of drivers' championships they've won. How neat. Cool stuff. Let's head back over to maybe, see, this is my statistics so far. I'm not worried about that. We've got our finances, which we're going to cover maybe a little bit later. I mean, sponsorship stuff is pretty straightforward. I don't see any actual sponsors, so it's just like this ubiquitous sponsor in the background who's giving us lots of money. They provide $75 million, and they are also throwing in $12 million if we hit these sponsorship obligations. So you can see here it says 6, sponsor requirement 6, and then if we get these, I think we get 12.5 million. So that means we have to sell merch, which I think happens automatically. Okay. We have multiple factory events. One is a race day event. One is another just generic factory event, which it looks like it's going to pause manufacturing for the day of that event. Boo. Hospitality. The pit crew will decrease on each race day that the team hosts sponsors in the pit. Oh, maybe we just have to do this once? Oh, here it is. Okay, so for every race week, it looks like we're going to need to do a factory event and a race day factory event. 10 of the races, we have to have a race hospitality event. I mean, that makes sense, right? You've seen an F1 race maybe where, you know, there's some really famous movie star or like a whole family literally in the garage next to the pit crew. That actually makes a lot of sense. Driver appearances. Our drivers have to put in at least 16 media appearances over the year. Great publicity. However, drivers won't gain experience on the week of each appearance. I don't know if I like that, to be honest. That's pretty harsh. Like, I kind of think that in this day and age of F1 drivers, it makes sense that a driver should be able to do some media and not completely fall apart. But I don't know. Race weekend driver appearance. Great publicity for our sponsors, but drivers will be distracted during the race, reducing their performance. I also don't like this too much unless it's a very small reduction. Again, this caliber, this level of driver, I really have to think that they have the ability to talk to the media and then not completely fall apart because they talk to the media. Either way, we'll come back to sponsorship stuff in a bit. Let's play with our cars because we have 2 cars, of course. We have 3 drivers. If you're not familiar with how F1 works, we do have a reserve driver. They can act as a fill-in if one of our drivers is sick, or I think the requirements this year, and I don't know, I don't see a rule set for F1, which is kind of interesting. Ah, here it is. Rules and regulations. Well, there's nothing else, actually. What about wind tunnel, double points for the last race? So there's some rule stuff in here. I think one of the rules this year is that your reserve driver has to participate in a qualifying or practice event. So it looks like we got a fastest lap bonus point. That was always kind of there. There's no bonus point for being on pole. No double points for the last race. Kind of interesting. I wonder if there's more rules that can be introduced that aren't listed here. Nifty stuff. Okay, back to the cars here. So our cars, we have a bunch of parts in the warehouse, right? So during this season, it looks like we have 6 engines that are available, 3 for each car. If we have to make a new part and apply the new part, I think we get a penalty. If I remember correctly, you're only allotted so many, you're only allowed so many parts every season. These are restrictions on, okay, these are restrictions on part design. I guess it doesn't actually say you can only have so many parts. Maybe that's not a thing. Maybe it just costs you money to make a new part. Okay, fair enough. We have a bunch of different, or one style, one version of the wing that we have. As we research new parts, then we have the option of fitting them and manufacturing them to the car. So let's take a look at the car part development. We're going to just start a new project. Let's go into the design phase because I'm assuming we cannot manufacture something unless we have something new. I mean, we could manufacture a new chassis, but the design is the base design. We already have 4 of the H2022 Haas 22 C1 version. So there's no point in building more of those, assuming no one wrecks the car a bunch of times. Choose a car part to design. Interestingly, there's no engines here. So it looks like we can only design body stuff. And I'm guessing maybe your sponsorship, or kind of like the Motorsport Manager game, if you've played that, at the start of the season, you choose who your major sponsor is, and like they bring the engine and they might bring the gear shift. So that's probably in the future years planning is where we might look at the engine and stuff like that over here. Engine, ERS, and gearbox. ERS, by the way, is the energy recovery system. It is a battery that gains power when you brake at its most basic level. Okay, let's design some stuff. How are we doing overall? Let's go back 1 or 2 steps because there was a nice screen here that says car analysis. So compared to the grid, the average on the grid, the little white box tells us who has the better performance. So we are only better in low speed and medium speed corners, low speed dirty air, and then engine cooling. We're a little bit, tiny bit better than the grid. Most everyone else, though, is doing better than us in these categories. if we want to take a specific team, who would be our competition? I think Williams. Wouldn't Williams be right down there on the bottom with us? I'm fairly sure Williams is. So we're actually much better than Williams. Well, not much better. We're talking like a couple of percentage points off here. We're actually a full kilometer per hour faster than Williams. Okay, that's good. How about Alfa Romeo? Nowhere near them. We've got 33.72, 30. I mean, look how it's the percentage points. This is really finely detailed. Dirty air cornering, by the way, this indicates how well we do behind another car. Because when another car is in front of you, like an airplane, it is crossing through the air and disrupting that airflow. It's changing the way the air hits your car, and anything is considered dirty air that has been driven through. It also might be hot if you're following right behind another F1 car. That exhaust air is warmer than the air that you're expecting. So the car is going to be it's just dirty air is how it's referred to. Alrighty, so I have no idea what to plan for because I think design of these parts takes some time. So let's just go with some wing stuff. Why not? So front wing testing and overview. We have a couple of hours to allocate. We have CFD, which is that computational fluid dynamics. This, by the way, is where we're starting to get into the crunchy part of the simulation. And I kind of really like this because this, to me, is a step that tells us we're into a more crunchy simulator than we might expect, which is great because I want a complex management game. I don't want an arcade manager. I really want something that's a little bit more detailed, and stuff like this is really, really exciting. So it looks like we have 6.9 MAU hours, mega allocation hours, which is equal to 1 million hours of computer simulation. Fascinating. Okay, so why don't we go ahead, since we can do two things, we can design two concurrent parts at a time. Let's design a new front wing and a new rear wing. So I'm going to use about half of the hours here, and we're going to go with 3.5 hours, and we'll do, let's see, we have 92 hours of wind tunnel usage. So let's just grab about half of those. And we're able to, let's see, what is this going to do across the board? So what we have fitted, and then what the improvement is. I really don't understand how to measure kilonewtons, but we're going to just assume that everything in green is an improvement. So which means if I were to apply these hours here to the front wing, these are, at the end of the day, this is our performance. I kind of think that this is going to happen more towards like the Australian Grand Prix or even the Miami Grand Prix because it's so far out there at the end of the day. So let's go ahead and go to the design focus. Now this is where within the changes that you're making, you can even further customize and focus your efforts into one of these attributes. I think we could leave it on balanced for the moment. The presets seem to be balanced, high speed or low speed performance, optimized cooling, or optimized aerodynamics. So if we would choose maximized, I mean, our brake cooling is actually not too, ooh, that's not great. That actually reduces it, I think, beyond what it already was. All right, our base is 50. So I don't really want to dip anything lower. I guess we'll do balanced for the moment. I don't really have any idea what this is going to do for us at the end of the day. Engineers, we do have 10 engineers total, so let's go ahead and assign 5. We have a normal approach, a rushed approach, which means they don't get expertise, but they do, it does cost more money, they finish faster. So this is either going to finish in 36 days, 24 days, or 36 days, but we get extra expertise if it's intense. Okay, so the cost of the approach is separate. So if we were to go intense, we don't gain any time, but they do get bonus experience, which will improve future designs of this particular car part. Oof, this would be 2.1 million as it stands. That's a lot. Cost cap. Cost cap remaining, cash remaining. I don't know where the money goes into the cost cap. Haven't actually looked at that yet. I don't think we've chosen anything that hits the cost cap. We're just working with our available money. Maybe? I really don't know. I think what I'd like to do is just go with the basics for now. Let's go ahead and do a normal development run. $700,000 complete. And one more design, which is the rear wing. We'll use up the remaining MAU hours. I will explain this wind tunnel thing. You can see here it says ATR periods. Testing is done in blocks known as aerodynamic testing period. This is actually on the calendar. I saw that on the calendar, so we'll come back to that in a second. Again, we're so early in this series that I don't know what's best. I'm sure there will be so much data and so many videos out there on how to min-max this type of stuff. I'm not worried about it too much at the moment. So we've started development. If I go back to the calendar, you can see here that the aerodynamic testing period is starting now, which means this testing period is actually going to go for 2 months. So yeah, that's a lot of time between designs. All right, friends, I think we can jump into an actual race, or at least hit the calendar continuing. Let's start moving forward. Here's one of our first couple of sponsorship things. Audrey, we've got the introduction to the development team. I really haven't looked at the staff members yet. I'm not terribly worried about that yet. I'm going to come back to the more of the staff stuff later on. Sponsor obligations. We have a little bit too late to negotiate the obligations, of course, but we just have to do stuff, right? We understand that we have to do some factory events, etc. Back to the inbox, we have a season kickoff party. Yeah, $10,000 for a improved driver and staff morale. Sure, I'll order $10,000 worth of pizza. That's all you guys get. We don't have a break room either. We have to eat on the factory floor. Everyone's just piled around the car chassis. All the parts are on the floor, eating off tires. Our construction is complete of the race simulator. That seems like a pretty basic thing to have, so everyone's excited about that. We haven't actually taken a look at the drivers themselves either. I'll come back to driver stuff in a bit, but I mean, at a glance here, you can see both of our drivers, Mick Schumacher, Kevin Magnussen. We have across the board fairly average, right? Or sorry, fairly similar ratings. Actually, Kevin is listed as being a higher rated driver than Mick. I think if I remember right, Mick was brought on because there was a German sponsor that wanted to join the Haas F1 team, but they wanted to have a German driver. So specifically, it was, oh my gosh, he crashed into the wall and turned into a giant fireball, but survived. Oh, I don't think he's actually racing this season. I thought he actually was racing, but he's not. It's going to drive me crazy, but I'm going to keep moving on. So we did the kickoff party. Oh, we were looking at drivers. So driver stuff, ratings are pretty average across the board. A lot of growth potential for Mick Schumacher, of course. So his father is huge in historical F1, so I'm sure it's very helpful to have such a knowledgeable and experienced father there to help guide you and help you learn from any mistakes. So a lot of potential. I'm sure there's some hidden attributes that kind of all go into what makes growth potential stat so high. Pretty decent on smoothness, which seems to indicate that we might look at strategies that involve extending our life of our tires, maybe. I'm like struggling for words. I'm so excited. Race simulator construction is complete. After a long period, we're happy to tell you that the race simulator is ready to go. Excellent. Ed Reagan, race prep Bahrain. Yeah, we kind of know that Bahrain is Bahrain. I mean, there's not a whole lot for us to worry about. We also have these performance targets, which I didn't talk about yet. These are incentives provided by the sponsors. Now, these don't have to be hit, but if they're hit, we get the reward listed on the card. So if we happen to reach Q3, we get 250,000 extra bucks. Now, we can actually choose a guarantee. We can say that we are going to make the qualifying round. We're going to get at least 12th to get through the first round of qualifying. I don't even know if we can do that, to be very honest with you. I would like to hope we can, but I'm kind of worried that what's the penalty here? Well, you know what? We only lose 26,000, but we would gain 106,000 if we manage to qualify. I think it's at least once, or no, guarantee. Reach a minimum qualifying position of 12th with a oh man. I think you have to get 15th or better to survive the first round of qualifying. Then there's 2 more rounds. There's the second and third phase of qualifying, with 10th position being the cutoff and 5th position. We're supposed to be the 6th best team on the grid. There's a chance we can make this happen. Let's try it out. Let's have some hopes and dreams here. Maybe we'll have a really good preparation time. Race target, finish position. at least 12th. I don't particularly know if we're going to get 12th or not. If we do, we'd get another 29. You know what? Let's be optimistic. Let's start the season strong with the glass as half full of Gatorade, sponsored by Gatorade. We also have a streak target, which looks like it is qualify 14th or higher for 2 races in a row with both drivers. We would get $500,000 if we hit this. There's a guarantee that we'll finish 14th or better 5 times with 1 driver. That's asking a lot of a team right out of the gate. I think I'll keep these 2 targets and we'll go with those alone. Okay. There we go. Mark all as red. Go to race. Oh, don't want to do that. I want to hit continue to the race weekend. Okay, we got 30 minutes in this episode. This series, by the way, I kind of plan to have these rather long. Ooh, we might get a track intro.
Welcome to the archipelago of Formula One. Bahrain might have a small land footprint, but it's showing its big spirit right now in the grandstands. Either way, it's time for another fantastic weekend of Grand Prix racing. The Bahrain International Circuit is a challenging track, and the cars routinely have to brake from high gear to low to take the narrow turns. With the need for downhill braking, the risk of locking up is one drivers will need to manage. It's all about focus and balance to get victory here. We might still be early in the season, but that doesn't mean we can sit back and relax. Everything is up for grabs, and nothing is certain at this stage. So, without further ado, let's get started.
By the way, when I was talking earlier, I was thinking of Roman Grosjean, who apparently didn't even participate in 2021 with Haas. I guess he left in 2020, and it was Nikita Mazepin who is the driver for 2021. Shows you how much I know. But here we go. We are at Bahrain right now. It's supposed to be clear skies for practice. We've got 3rd session of practice and qualifying on Saturday, and then the race, of course, is going to be sunny. We're in Bahrain, so huge surprise there. We did promise to be super aggressive. I hope that works out. Let's do it. I'm excited. Here we get to choose our drivers. We can have either the number 1 and number 2 driver, or we can bring in our reserve driver. I'm going to, for the moment, just have our normal drivers in here. We start out with no knowledge of the track. I'm assuming... It's interesting. Hang on. That said... So the more you drive on a track, the faster track... Okay, yeah. So the more you just drive a track, the more acclimatized you're going to get to the track. It looks like we have 15 performance bonus numbers here, and it's broken up into 3, 3, 9. So our setup confidence is worth 9 bonus points. So if we max out our setup confidence, we're going to get a pretty decent boost to the race. So at the end of the day, it's really important to get the setup. It would be nice to have the track acclimatization and car parts knowledge. Awesome stuff. We are going to go out on the soft compound tire. The compounds, by the way, are how hard the tires are. The softer the tire, the faster the car will go, generally speaking, but the faster the tire will wear on you over time. I'll get more into the details of this later on. Here is our car setup. I'm guessing we can actually have, like, what if we come back next season? Will we remember... the 21st of September. Will we remember the previous setup? That would be my question. Like, is this institutional knowledge we get to keep with us? But I think this is about driver feedback here. They're going to tell us if this setup is good, bad, or ugly. These blue bars are kind of the sweet spot for each of these biases will be in this blue area. If you've played Motorsport Manager, very, very familiar stuff. We're going to keep everything the same for now. Let's go back to car number 2. Wrong button, untested. I'm going to change up the straight value. What can help us with straights? This is going to be... I think the front wing is going to make a pretty... there it is. The rear wing is going to give us the most difference on the straight. I'm kind of pulling this away because it seems like, you know, if our current setup puts us here, we want to be a little bit closer to this. I don't know, we have to per se. The perfect setup could be theoretically right here, but I'll move us a little bit off center just for fun. Let's go ahead and plan to have both drivers run for 15 laps. Car 1 is ready. Car 2 is ready. We're moving to practice session. We're going to manage this practice live. Excited. I'm going to try to not do... I can literally do the entire episode. Ooh. This is live radio stuff? I'm so excited. Okay. Practice has started. Let's go ahead and send out Mick first. A little cutscene. Adorable. By the way, the developers did say that there is kind of a weird graphical thing in the pits. You might notice like a delay in pit animation versus what you're mechanically seeing. That looks like it has been addressed or is being addressed and will hopefully be updated in that first build. All right, let's change our camera. Let's go ahead and go to the, what would you call this? 10,000 foot view, the bird's eye view with just labels here. So we're one of the first drivers out. Valtteri. Oh, Jesus, we just started. We just started. You can see some wear on your tires. No kidding. Well, that's fine. That's fine.
Was that
Careful
a lock-up on the track? Let's take a look at the replay.
Nice. First thing that happened, it was Mick.
Well, they've lost it. They've locked up.
All right, Crofty, you can calm down there, buddy. We know you don't cover practices. No, he actually does, doesn't he? It's not that important, okay? Let's go ahead and send out K-Mag as well. So what we're going to see, I love, God, the graphics on this. Let's just take a minute to appreciate the fact that very few simulators have ever had this level of graphic quality in the simulation engine, right? And I think what they did is actually just, I don't know what kind of amalgamation they used here, but they pulled the engine from F1 2022, I think. I don't really know for sure. I could be just completely talking out of my butt, but this is very similar to what you might see in F1 2022. PS5, Xbox, PC, separate game is what I'm referring to. All right, so we can in fact tell our drivers to, oh, it's a different camera angles too. That's super cool. We can tell our drivers to increase their pace if we want to. We can tell them to attack aggressively. It's going to reduce their lap time, but increase the wear on their tires. You can also see the overall amount of knowledge we have about the track as well as the parts. We'll start to see feedback come in here too from Mick and Kevin Magnussen as they go. We can look at damage here, I think, car condition, any major, minor, or critical damage parts. We can tell the car to come back in, and then just generic information. Oh, this is kind of cool. Team commands, don't fight your teammate or hold the cars up. Different information on most, I think all tracks are divided into 3 sectors. So if you're looking at S1, this is like from the start-finish line to like, I don't know, here might be sector 1. And green indicates that this is the best sector for that driver. Purple indicates that it's the best sector across all drivers. FYI. All right. I'm not going to watch the entire practice because I can get distracted by this shiny thing for hours on end. Let's go ahead and speed things up a bit. In fact, I'm going to speed this up quite a bit because we need to get through a lot before the end of this episode. We need to get to 3 practices, at least 1 qualifying, and then a race. And I'm going to want to spend more time on the race aspect. So let's just let this run until they come back in the pits. I think that's a smart thing to do. We told them 15 laps. We'll see if they can make 15 laps. Can I minimize this little thing here? No, it's always going to be... I want to see the leaderboard. We actually have a pretty decent time from Kevin Magnussen, actually. We're 10th right. We're 10th fastest, which, again, keep in mind, this is really freaking good for Haas. Like, we are, according to the game ratings, we are the bottom team, right? So every team has 2 drivers. Again, if you're... I'm explaining a lot of basic stuff in case you're unfamiliar. What? Who crashed? Multiple cars crashed in practice?
VSC deployed.
What? Who wipes out? Let's call the cars in. Can I get a replay of this? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Can I get a... Please let me have a replay.
Oh, and that's a crash. Here's the replay.
You gotta be kidding me. Please be all 3 of you guys crashing out. The AlphaTauri, I don't know who these are. No, it was 2. It's 3 cars in practice? How does that even happen? Oh, I don't know which drivers were involved there. That is hilarious. Do we get an event history?
White line.
Penalty given to Yuki Tsunoda for causing a collision. Oh no. Oh, the huge manatee. All right. Our folks are heading back to the garage. The VSC, by the way, if you're unfamiliar with that means, that is a virtual safety car, which indicates that you have to slow down, basically, at the end of the day. Your car can only go, everyone goes the same speed, roughly, and it kind of neutralizes the race. Okay, so our team is in the pits. Let's go ahead and reconfigure the car. We've got some feedback across the board. So let's go to the car setup. And this is the driver feedback. So our oversteering setting is good. We're good on steering. Brakes are very unstable. So what would decrease decrease the braking stability? I don't really think that's how I'm supposed to read that. Braking. Removing it will improve longitudinal grip. Oh my God, so much knowledge here. Okay. Biasing towards braking stability and traction. So let's change up the braking stability. At the end of the day, we want to keep the great stuff near where it was. So I'm going to have to change something else. And this is kind of like, you're just messing with settings until you get them where you want them to go. I don't know which ones affect what yet. I'm not a racing guy. So we know that braking stability was bad. So we want to have this new setting away from the old setting. Oversteer can be close. I really need to have cornering fixed though. So cornering needs to be here. That's fine. We want cornering to be relatively, there we go. That's something different. Everything is something different, pretty close to the old oversteer setting, pretty much right on the money for cornering. I don't know if there's like a perfect rating, but maybe great is the best we've got. Okie dokie. Highest confidence setup. Yeah, we don't really have any other sets yet. Car parts, we're doing fine. There's no damage across the board, I think. And then tires, we are... Wow, this is going to be a new thing for me, too. During a race weekend, I think during the main race, you have to use at least 2 different types of compounds. We don't want to use the hards in practice, right? Because we only have 2 sets of hard tires this entire weekend to use. These are going to be race hard tires, I think. We'll use some softs. Softs are normally really good when you're trying to set your qualifying time, because you'll always use the soft compound tires during qualifying. The rest of this, yeah, 15 laps, that sounds good. So let's confirm the changes here. Oh, I didn't mean to cancel the call in. Where's Magnussen at? He's coming in. Where you at, buddy? Why can't I see you? Why can't I see him? Oh, there it is. That's freaking hilarious. Can I see Yuki Tsunoda? Is he retired? Is he retired from practice? Oh my gosh, that's amazing. All right, there's Kevin just drove in underneath us here. Same thing. Good, bad, and ugly. Cool. So let's adjust braking stability again. It's gonna take me a while to figure out what's what. So front wing is corner stuff. Rear wing is straight stuff, right? Because that's rear wing. The more angle you have on the rear wing, the more air hits your wing and pushes the back booty of the car down to the ground, gives you better traction. That's, if anything else, that's all I remember from all my many hours of watching Formula One. We want to come off a little bit on the braking stability. We'll change up the braking stability. I want the straights to be different, which is our rear wing. Let's adjust that up, and I want to come back on the cornering somehow. That's good enough. Everything else we can try something new, because nothing's worked yet. I'm sure this is not the best way to do it either, but hey, we're going to roll with it. What tire issue? We'll go with new tire. Awesome stuff. Let us wait for the VSC to end, because it's kind of just wasted time. Oh, there it goes. It's ending soon. Speed the game up until our folks are done. In fact, I don't have a ton of time left, so I'm going to go ahead and just simulate to the end of practice, and I will be back with you. Well, there you go. Magnussen is all over the place. He went wide, and then he spun. He's not even pushing hard. We don't even have an order to spin hard, or to push hard. Let's not watch that. Oh, he just lost it coming out of the turn.
The car's just gone.
Thanks, Crofty. Really appreciate that spot on analysis. All right, going back to my speed up. I'll bring you back in probably at the end of P1. Okay, so we're just about finished with the first practice session. And interestingly, we're in the top 5. Now, again, the game, obviously, as I mentioned before, we're still in early preview, and the team is balancing, like making the final balance adjustments based on early feedback and all that stuff. So there are, of course, some weird things that happen. Also, teams don't always burn it on the first practice session. So it's just interesting to see Haas out there on number 4 and number 5. What I did to get that, by the way, is at the pretty much right back here. So I can do it with Mick Schumacher. We're going to push him for attacking aggressive performance. Now he is on the mediums though, so he's not going to do as good.
Mode push.
I love that.
Copy.
So he's going to actually push through this entire lap real aggressively, which is dangerous. There's always a chance that your driver, because of that, is going to eat it. But just something to keep in mind. So that last lap was, I can't actually tell, car in front, car behind. Lap time. Did I have one for last lap? P1. He didn't move up at all, but it's still, that's how I wouldn't expect it with the different tires, but that is in fact how I kind of burned, not burned, but I forced them to try harder to get better performance.
Okay, you're coming back to us now, Mick.
Copy. All right, session has ended. Fantastic stuff. Hopefully we got some good data out of that. I do want to show you really quick guys, come on. I just want to finish it. There we go. I want to show you a lot of good knowledge there. 29% knowledge of the track, 25%-ish knowledge of the car parts, and the setup confidence, we're not quite finished yet. So let's go back to the setup. Continuing into the second one, car setup is untested. So here's all the driver. Oh, interesting. Why? I had a good setup before. Oh, because it was I think it's because it was with new tires. Interesting. I think that the setup is a per tire basis, maybe? I could be completely wrong, but can I undo what I just did? I guess I can't. So we're gonna have to deal with that. Okay, let's go back to the tire compound. We'll go through some more softs. This is the plan that he had finished on a hard tire or soft tire before, and the feedback he gave was that the only thing that was really not great was the oversteer. We have a little bit, I guess it's right in the middle, but I don't know, maybe it's too much oversteer or it's understeering, whatever. And so the idea is then to change the oversteer setting very carefully while not really changing anything else. So you find the thing that affects it the most, and then kind of, it's like one of those awful puzzles in any RPG you've ever played, where you turn one box and then 7 other boxes turn at the same time. Ugh, I'm so bad at these. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. I don't have a lot of time left, so I'm gonna run through the next 2 practice sessions, hopefully get some good results here, and I can share them with you before we move into qualifying, or I'll give you a summary at qualifying, and we'll jump right into the race. So just a couple thoughts so far on practice sessions. If you've played Motorsport Manager in the past, you know there's a couple ways to game the system where you could literally send the driver out for a single lap, and even not even an outlap, or it would be the outlap only, bring them back in and have a bunch of additional feedback. So far, from what I'm seeing, is that we have, you have to have the driver out there for the entirety of that selected run. So when they're in the pits, you're actually telling them like, okay, you're going to go out, this next run, this practice run is going to be for 15 or 20 laps. And so once they complete that run, that's where you get the setup confidence information. So it's actually kind of interesting. It prevents you from gaming the system. Car feels pretty good to Magnussen right now, which is pretty fantastic. So as you can see, we are continuing to increase our car knowledge and track acclimatization. And we have another crash. That is insane. Who is it? I'm gonna. Okay, it's not. Oh, it's one of the Red Bulls and the Ferraris. I've never been so excited. What?
And there's the hit, and it's crystal clear who was in the wrong there.
Who was that? Who was that? Leclerc just decided to take a hard left turn. Right, I'm assuming that was Verstappen and Leclerc. I want that to be Verstappen and Leclerc. It might have, yeah, because it was no, it was Leclerc and Perez, I think, because it was a forward and back kind of a thing. Who knows? That's fantastic. Okay, so there's a couple of kinks to work out still. I've never seen that in my life. All right, so Magnussen's back in here. At the next practice, I'm going to go ahead and just use the auto assumption feature, or the assumption, the automatic crew simulation. So they will do this work for me. I think all I'm going to do here is try to change the traction. We'll send him out with some hard tires. We're only going to need one set of hards for the race, I hope. So I don't really want to blow through, like I'm blowing through a lot of tires, and I don't know the best route to do this. We're going to need at least one set for qualifying, and we're going to need at least one set for the race. So we have one more set that they're probably going to use. We have another set of mediums too. I want to leave at least one fresh set of mediums and hards for the race, one set of softs for the qualifying, because that is where we're going to get our fastest performance at. And off we go. So one more time into the abyss, and I will be back with you at the end of practice 3 with qualifying. Okay, so at the end of practice 2, these are the results that I'm kind of expecting more. So the other teams are starting to get dialed in. We still managed to get a nice 12th position here from Kevin Magnussen. There are still some teams. I mean, McLaren is way off the pace. McLaren, you'd expect to be much higher in the order. So I'm assuming they're going to send it in the 3rd practice session. Let's together take a quick peek. We're at 63. Yeah, this is good. So the information is continuing to pile up, the knowledge of the track and the parts. The setup confidence keeps changing. And
race weekend continues as
we're now into Saturday.
And then qualifying. Drivers will need to perform with...
I appreciate that. I'm a little time constrained here, Crofty. So we're going to have to push you through. So it's partly cloudy. Not really any chance of rain. It is going to be practice and then qualifying in the same day. I love that we had 2 crashes during practice. Super waiting for that. Some balance changes that I'm excited to see, because I imagine that's where it came from. So Kevin Magnussen is very, very happy with his setup. Schumacher's pretty close. Let's go back to car 2, Magnussen car setup here. It's pretty much on the money, I think. Although I recently changed this, and he hasn't had a chance to run it yet. So can I hit continue? I'd like to simulate this. Let's let the staff manage this session. Let's see what happens here. Or if we just explode into 1,000. Oh, that was really super fast. Well, that's nice. If you don't want to do every single practice, you don't necessarily have to. I don't know how your staff quality impacts that, though. Yeah, we still did a 10th place in that practice. I'm digging it. 10th and 15th. McLaren is improved a little bit, but still, we're not too shabby. Leclerc is in the lead here of the... I think Leclerc opened the season with the win, didn't he? It's been like, it feels like 10 years ago. So performance bonuses, look at that. Both of our drivers are almost maxed out on track knowledge. Car parts knowledge, not quite as much. And they're fairly happy with the setup. So we got 13 out of 15, 12 out of 15 going into qualifying. Awesome stuff. Let's go ahead and continue to move into the qualifying session. I'm going to leave everything as it is. I do want to make sure we're on a fresh set of soft tires. Nice and new. It looks like we still have good tires for the rest of the weekend for both drivers. Yes, we do. And of course, for the run plan, it's one flying lap. Include the cooldown lap, additional fuel. That's interesting. I don't think I need to tell them to push hard. They're going to push, right? It's qualifying. So let's do it. Let's start our qualifying session. I will go ahead and manage the first qualifying. If we have more than one, I'll let the AI handle that. This episode's probably going to be the longest of any of the episodes I do. So if you're... I know we've been here for a long time. There's a lot of information out there. I guess we'll get our first pass in early. Expected traffic. It's kind of interesting. So track grip. So at 1809... 1818. So at 9 minutes into the session, we're expecting the best grip, but it's also going to be the busiest. I think this is the traffic here. I don't quite know how to read this just yet. Like, getting out on the track early might seem like the best thing to do. Ooh, that's pretty. Weaving back side to side is Mick Schumacher in order to get the heat into the tires. Can we see the heat in the tires? Can we see that level of detail? No. Not yet. Maybe. Oh, we can see that level of detail. This is so much data. For anyone who's a data hound, you should be incredibly pleased with how this is coming so far. All right, let's go ahead and set our driver out after Alexander Albon. Let's speed things up here. Mick Schumacher's going for his first lap. Now let's double check. Take manual control. Oh, hold up. What does this mean? Let's go to Magnussen. I'm going to go ahead and hit manual control. What does this do? Full control over pace, lift and coast, ERS strategies. Oh, we don't really need it. This is probably just maxed out. I don't need to take manual control because the orders are go really fast. There's no reason not to set everything to the highest. All right, so Schumacher is setting the best, of course, of the entire group because he's first out the door. That's not completely unexpected. Although he's a second under the Williams team. Kevin Magnussen coming in at 0.3 of a second faster than Schumacher. Pretty exciting times. Let's see. Let's go ahead and reconfigure and go with the same soft tire. I don't know how many runs you're normally going to get. Car parts, test plan, confirm. Everything's ready to go because we didn't have to make any changes. Reconfigure, same set of tires there. How much time do we have? We have 10 minutes. How long did that take us? That first run. We probably only have one more run left, right? That took... Yeah, there's no way we can do... We have one more run and that's it. So... Do we... I guess we could do a new set of softs on both. And then it's going to be a matter of waiting to see when the right time is. The rubber on the track is still low. That means that rubber comes off the tires, gets applied to the surface of the track, and you're able to benefit from an increased grip of having all those other cars out there. We're still holding... Okay, never mind. The big wigs are coming out now. We still have Norris, Ricardo. I don't expect Alonso. We actually might make it into the first... Might make it through the first qualifying. The red here indicates if you're slower than 15th, you will not make it into the round 2 qualifying. That's what this red indicates. So far, so good. We just have to be best of the worst. I think the midfield is called best of the rest, right? That's where you're not quite in the top podium. You're not challenging or bucking for the podium positions. This looks fairly accurate. No real surprises. Bottas here with the Alfa Romeo. Is that his thing? I think he's Alfa Romeo, right? Third place is kind of surprising. Oh, there goes everybody. Let's not wait. Let's send him out now. I was so distracted by the shiny. Oh no, there's only 2 minutes left. Did I get him out in time? I might not have hit the button in time. Let's see if we can get all the way around. Uh-oh. Come on, guys. You have to cross the start-finish line before... God, I don't want this info here. Yes, we made it. Okay, so you have to cross the start-finish line before the end of the session. This is still a valid... Oh, come on. That was one of ours, wasn't it? This is still a valid lap for us. So no huge changes there. We're still 9th and 12th. Exciting stuff. I kind of wish that I could force this to stay pinned. I want to look at all the timings. I don't really want to look at mixed stuff at the moment. Can I switch to Magnussen there? If Albon or Stroll go faster, Mick Schumacher's out of qualifying, but they did not. We are right on the bubble. We did make it into the next session. Kevin here is the only other person to cross the line. He crosses at 10th place. Nice job, buddy. Nice job. All right, that's exciting. That's a good start for Haas, my friends. That's a great start for Haas. So, here's the question. We're at about an hour or so in this Let's Play. I really don't want to drag this out for 30 more minutes and just make you wait through a mega large video. So I'm going to break this up. In the next episode, my friends, we will cover our first race at the Bahrain Grand Prix of 2022. Haas looks so good so far. Not so good, but looks okay so far. We managed to beat out Aston Martin, Williams, surprisingly McLaren. I thought McLaren was pretty hot this year, if I recall. Fastest lap goes to Charles Leclerc. He's also got pole, 2 Ferraris locking out the front row, Red Bull, Alfa Romeo, Red Bull, Mercedes back there. Again, Mercedes, if you're not familiar with F1, have been dominating the circuit for the past like 7 years. And then last year, Red Bull beat them. And since then, they've had a little bit of trouble. I kind of think that's related to a cap. Didn't we go into an income cap this year? where you can only spend so much money per year to balance out the team's budgets? I don't know. All right, friends. So thanks so much for joining me for this first episode. I'll get us through to the start of the race. I'll kind of go through the next couple qualifyings, let you know where we stand, and then we can just really take it slow in the next episode and kind of see what the race really looks like. So thanks for being here with me. My name's been Yodin. You've been fantastic. Until next time, friends, take care.